Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are looking at the MBK-161 1943, now that I've finished actually grinding it in the Operation Shipyard event. Now the MBK-161 is a premium vehicle at BR 2.3 in Naval Arcade, rank 2 for the Soviets. It's actually the second BR 2.3 machine that we've got this year as an event vehicle for the Soviets, for the Naval at least. The other one being the MPK Project 122 BIS. It was available in the Battlefield Engineer event, and both of these vehicles are slightly different versions to the ones that we have in the tree. The difference between them, though, is the 122 BIS is a better version of what you see in the tech tree in the form of the Project 122A. And the MBK-161, the one we're looking at today, is a worse version of the one which is in the tree. It has less large caliber armaments and more smaller caliber armaments, and also really lacks power when it comes to the engine department, which is a real issue for the machine. And to be honest, the MBK-161 does as well, but the reason for that is because it has kind of crazy armor on it. So looking at the two vehicles, the 122 BIS and the MBK-161, if you wanted to make a comparison between the two, the 122 BIS has much better guns on it. 237mm will wreck house when it comes to anything that it faces, and also having the 85mm on the front is really nice. It has more AA cover, but it also has a larger silhouette and less armor, and also on top of that as well, the MBK Project 122 BIS has a lot more speed than the MBK 161. So the 161 has more survivability, and it generally has more larger caliber guns, whereas the Project 122 BIS has better guns overall, more auto cannons, and also the larger caliber gun, and the 85 is faster, but it does have a larger silhouette. So depending on what you like, each has their own little strengths. I would say the Project 122 BIS, though, is better than the MBK 161. So one of the nice things about the Soviets at 2.3 in Naval Arcade is you have a lot of options. You have the MPK-163, the Project 1124, the 191, the 191M, and also a variety of different premium vehicles to run at 2.3. So if we just look at the general lineup around the MBK-161, it's incredibly strong, even if we have a look at the aircraft. The aircraft ranging from stuff like the MiG-315, which is a greater superiority fighter, also the Lag 335 as well. The Yak 2 cab is always fun, and also the Yak 4 just for that extra oomph if you feel like smashing things with its 100 kilos. So overall 2.3 is a powerhouse BR for the Soviets, and to fit another machine into it is kind of surprising because of the fact that it's already really good. Now what the MBK brings along with it is pretty strong in the form of its rewards, which is its main selling points, because it's got quite a lot of armor protection and also some nice large caliber guns in the form of 276s. You can fire at long range and do a ton of damage to individuals while also not taking too much damage yourself, and because of this, because the rewards are 300% SL, which I believe is the highest when it comes to the event vehicles. It's the same as the Project 1204, but the 122 BIS actually has less. It has 240% SL, and it also has 390% RP gain. So it is equal highest at the BR for RP gain and also SL gain, which is absolutely lovely. That's exactly what you want to see, meaning that you can make ships profitable in this thing, and it will be a great machine to have to kickstart your way into the Soviet naval stuff, giving you a decent idea of how a lot of these lower tier machines play. So from the rewards point of view, it's great. From the survivability point of view, having 52mm of armor in the center of the machine. On top of this as well, the bridge is covered in 60mm of armor. This means that if you're facing one of these things and you see it, it's actually called something like an armored ship or an armored patrol boat or something. What you're going to have to do is load AP. It's as simple as that. So at low tiers, you see a lot of people slinging HE, because of the fact that you don't face a lot of stuff with a ton of armor. The only time where this changes is if you run into your first BMO, another Soviet battle boat, and you go, oh god, why can't I hurt that thing? Same with the MO4 with its 38mm of hull wood. So with the MBK, you're just basically taking that to the extreme, meaning that with 52mm of thickness going up to an effective thickness of about 150, and also having 60mm of thickness around the bridge itself, it is a tough nut to crack if you're just firing HE. The majority of HE at this level has about 0 to 40mm of pen, so you're not going to be able to hurt the central area, where a lot of the ammo is stored, and also a lot of the other components, such as the engines and of course the bridge. So overall, it's very good survivability wise. It also sits very low in the water, meaning that being able to hit a lot of it is kind of hard to do. I found myself a lot just firing over the machine, just because it was aiming more for the bridge area instead of the general ship itself, and so a lot of my shots were missing when I was firing against them. The secondary armaments that this machine has, it has 3 Dishkas, but the Dishkas themselves do not have great coverage. The 2 on the side of the ship, they have about 180 degrees, maybe a little bit more, and decent elevation. The one in the middle has maybe about 45 degrees at either side of it, and pretty poor elevation. So overall, the Dishkas are not great at keeping you alive by destroying aircraft, which is pretty much all they're going to be used for. The other 2 guns, the 45mm on the booty, along with the 37. The 37, the 70K, is amazing. It's one of the best guns at this level, which is why the Project 122 BIS is so good. It has 2 of them on its booty, whereas the 161 only has 1. It has a great range on it. You can hit stuff accurately at 2.5k. and you can do a lot of damage with it. On top of this, it's great at killing aircraft. The 45mm is not as good, in my opinion, but it does get some interesting shells. You've got 2 HE shells, plus a high explosive with a base fuse shell, and an APHE shell. So if you need to deal with other ships with armor, you can. If you need to deal with planes, you have an option, and also HE just to do a bit more damage. But overall, I haven't found the 45 to be that useful. And on top of all of this, on top of all of these wonderful things, including the 276s, you have something at the front of the vehicle which is slightly different to others. So you have depth charge launchers, you have stuff which drops depth charge. We've also seen things such as mine layers when it comes to certain special events. What I've never seen before is what looks like a land-based mortar on the front of a ship, and that is what the MBK-161 has. It is also fully functioning, meaning that there is a man on the front of it, and he is able to fire 50 rounds of the BM-37 mortar at the enemies, and it travels quite far distance. One of the criticisms I've had in the past of depth charges is even with the depth charge slingers, they don't go far enough. They never feel like you are going to hit an enemy with them because that enemy has to be right next to you. Well, with this edition of the mortar, this mortar must travel about maybe 100-150 meters. That's what at least it feels like, and it has a decent travel time in the air. This means that this can actually be useful against enemies which are kind of close to you. It also has 90 degrees of traverse to the left and the right, meaning that it has 180 degrees of coverage overall, and this to me is much more interesting than the VT-12 new mechanic. Like the new aiming mechanic for the VT-12, yes, a lot of people can look at it and think, oh, you know, Swedish vehicles, blah blah blah, but for me, having a land-based mortar opens up a lot of possibilities that I've thought of in the past, whether it be for ground forces or whether it be for naval forces, and it is nice to see that it is here in-game now. The only issue it has is that there is no sound, or at least there seems to be no sound, when you fire the thing, and that obviously means that there is no feedback. Hopefully it gets a sound eventually. Looking at the main guns, you have 76mm, and one of the problems of having these low silhouette Soviet ships is firing forwards is not always the easiest thing to do. The front of the ship normally rears upwards, meaning that the 76s cannot fire upwards unless they're firing at range. These things are combat effective. Where I've tried them, I've been able to hit ships at 4 kilometers, so pretty far. And on top of this as well, they are pretty much accurate all the way down to, 0. and I should say, firing at 3.5 to 4 kilometers, I was firing at stationary targets, so yeah, that made them a lot easier to hit. Normally the engage range, if I'm fighting a person who is moving, is around about 1.5 to 3 kilometers, and if they get below 1.5, then I rat-a-tat with the 37 on the back just to make sure to kill them, since you can get so many more rounds off with the 37 instead of the 276s, which do have a good fire rate attached to them. It's just that I feel like the 37 just it can oomph a lot more than the 276s. There'll be a lot of times where when you load HE, which should be your predominant round for the 76s, you will one-shot PT boats. You will tap them, it'll hit ammunition, it'll crew knock them, and it's incredibly satisfying when you fire and then you see a ship just pop. The AP should be reserved for the machines like the MBK-161, where they do have a little bit of armor and you've got to puncture through them. I would personally say aim for the ammo racks of a lot of the machines that you fight. The ammo racks on something like the MBK-161 can be both located below the T-34 turrets, and that's basically, you know, where you find them. The coverage of the guns themselves, the 76mm on the front has pretty good coverage, you know, it has pretty much full coverage, at least to the 270-degree arc. The other one, though, has also a 270-degree arc, but it has a problem, and the problem is in the form of a lifeboat. Because this lifeboat is sat near the back gun, it means that if you are looking, let's say, to the left, forward, with your back T-34 turret, and you want to fire over the right-hand side, it has to do a 270-degree turn instead of that 90-degree turn, because it can't elevate the gun over the lifeboat. It would be really nice if somebody just moved that lifeboat, so that didn't happen, but unfortunately in game it does. So what you're pretty much getting with this is a pretty well armored machine which has a lot of guns on it, has a lot of firepower, and has really good rewards on it. Overall, if you're looking for a machine to grind out the Soviet tech tree, and you're looking for something that'll be good to grind for rank 2, 3, and 1, which are the main areas of the Soviet tech tree, this is a great pickup, along with, of course, the MPK Project 122 BIS and the Project 1204. You can run a full gold lineup, and if you don't want to, you already have some wonderful 2-3s to run it with in the tech trees. It's a powerhouse BR, why not add to it with a wonderful machine? I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Mopar 1969, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyans Terry, and Elove Goats, and of course Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.